Hey everyone, my name is Taps, and today I have a special guest to talk all things crypto. Over the years, I've become a better investor by watching and conversating with people who are already crushing the game with investing, whether it's crypto, stocks, real estate. So hopefully this video will help ease your mind if this is your first year into crypto, or even if you're an experienced trader who's maybe diamond hands or feeling a little bit more like paper these days, which, given the recent volatility in crypto markets, I can't blame you. So, none of this is ever financial advice, but if you find this content valuable, then please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. But with that said, I'd like to welcome Spencer Freidenrich to the channel. Thanks for coming on, Spencer.
Thanks for having me, Tops. Appreciate it.
Of course. And, I know you're a pretty humble guy, but I have to give a little background that I put together for you because viewers are probably going to be wondering, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? So, are you ready for my little background?
Absolutely. Go for it, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. Well, here's a quick little bit about Spencer that, why you should listen and pay attention to what he has to say because Spencer is a very successful crypto investor who has time now two bull markets with his investments, which helped him quit his corporate job, start his own business full time, has flipped real estate, travels the world for fun, and has even become an angel investor. How's that for an intro, Spencer?
It's pretty good, man. Thanks.
Yeah. You're blushing a little bit.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a fun ride to say the least. And yeah, happy to be here and chatting crypto.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you, man. So, for the viewers, what we're going to discuss today is we're going to start off with the $1 million question, right? Is the 2021 crypto bull market over? And then we'll go into what Spencer's first investment was back in, I think, 2017 and talk a little bit about that. What caused him to go all in 2020? Meme coins, are they a good investment? What his thoughts are on them? Elon Musk, you guys might have heard about him. A little bit about Ecomi and why Spencer chose to invest into it, and as well as why he thinks it's comparable to Vechain or Vet back in the day. What space he thinks is going to be the Goliath of all of the spaces for this bull cycle and the future. When's the top? And any other crypto tips or advice and bear cycle information that he can share with us today. So that's going to be our outline for the day. But with that said, Spencer, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you and help us answer that big question. Is the 2021 crypto bull market over?
Yeah. Well,
Yes?
what a day to be
Yeah.
what a day to be talking, man. It's a crazy day in crypto, to say the least. You know, definitely some, fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there. But in my opinion, again, not financial advice, but in my opinion, I think we're just in a big correction cycle right now. I actually think that it's fairly healthy for the market. You have, when the market gets a little bit overheated, like it may have been, what happens is you get a lot of speculators that come into the market. And those speculators, whether they're traders from the stock market or other commodities, or they're newbies to the market, they tend to have not as much conviction as the serious crypto investors. And they also, other traders that get into the market, they tend to use a lot of leverage.
Mm-hmm.
So do a lot of crypto traders. But what happens is when you get a big correction like this, is that that leverage gets flushed out of the system. And that's actually a healthy thing for the system because, when there's a lot of leverage in the system and people are, taking $10,000 but making $100,000 bets, which would be a 10x leverage trade. That makes the system really, really fragile because if you can have liquidations that go down the pipe really, really quickly because if you move a couple percentage points, then someone can get liquidated. So
Right.
that's how you get these cascading falls that we've probably seen that we saw today and yesterday, and and then that it just compounds on itself. But Again, to be clear, I don't think we're at the top. And I have some data points I'd like to share with you guys. I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a couple charts that I've been looking at over the last day or so. So what I want to share with you guys is, kind of these charts were put out by Raoul Paul at the Global Macro Investor. He's awesome, great person to follow, and he put these out, and I think this is a great representation. So this is a chart from where we are right now. The blue is 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and the white is where we are now. As you can see, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. I mean, this is kind of scary correlated how close it is to 2013. And, if we zoom in to where we are, right at this point in 2013, sorry, let me see if I can zoom in. I mean, we saw a fairly significant drop right there. So, just in the exact timeline that we're in right now. So, it's super interesting to check that out. And now, here's where it gets, crazy again. Let's take a look at the 2017 bull cycle. Blue is 2017 and white is now. This is the current bull cycle. Again, if you zoom in here, you can see, we had a pretty significant drop here. And now, if we zoom into this area and take a little bit closer look, I want to show you guys there was actually two roughly 40% drops here. So in this time frame,
this is 2017. There was two 40% drops.
Correct. This is the 2017 bull run. There was two 40% drops. If we zoom in here just a little bit, you can see that sometime like right about the start of August was a 41% drop, almost a 42% drop.
And you experienced these?
I'm sorry, say again?
So you experienced these?
I did experience these. Yeah.
Oh.
They were very, very interesting to say the least. So it definitely is a scary time, but you got to keep your emotions in check. And, if you keep your emotions in check, you can make sound decisions and actually look at the data, from past cycles and from what's actually going on right now. So we had 41% drop here, and we had another 39% drop here, almost 40% drop here. And, everybody thought it was over. Oh my God, bull run's over. And I think we can see they were wrong. So, that's my personal opinion. Another thing that I think is pretty bullish in this, what's been happening right now is that we've seen, yesterday, we saw the biggest inflow of Bitcoin into Binance, coupled with the biggest outflow of Bitcoin from Binance at the same time. Now, to me, that's a bullish signal. If there was the biggest inflow ever with maybe marginal outflow, I'd be a little bit scared. I'd be okay. There's a ton of inflow. There's a ton of sellers. They're pushing the price down, but it was almost matched. And so I think we're just going through a shakeup right now. And, the weak, we'll call them the weak paper hands, are getting rid of their, or younger people who've never been through a big shakeout like this. They are, selling, younger investors, I should say. They're selling their younger coins that they just invested in, and they're finding new homes into stronger hands. So, I'm pretty bullish, still in the long term. I think, if you take a zoom out, as I like to tell everyone, listen, have a 5-year time horizon and you're virtually guaranteed to make money in crypto. You can invest at any point and you're going to make, money in crypto, even if it was at the very top of any bull cycle. I can literally show you in the data points, in the charts, hey, this is, you're virtually guaranteed here. So, I think we're in a good spot, but I also think that, we're headed towards the right direction, on a macro view. over the next, 6 months here. And then of course into the next, 3, 5, 10 years. So that's kind of think where we are right now.
Awesome. Yeah. So when in doubt, zoom out. And I've told many subscribers, time and time again, patience, PAYTIENCE. Just patience is how you make money in this market. And everything you're saying is, look through it through that macro lens, right? Like what you're doing today and have foresight to know what you're investing in now. So that way you can actually hold and make money in the long term.
Absolutely. Patience is key. And, honestly, patience is hard. It's, I've been through two bull cycles now. I've been through a really bad bear cycle in 2018, held all the way through. And was that painful? Absolutely. But was it worth it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you just have some patience. So, yeah, I can't agree more. It's definitely it's pretty shocking at first. I think everyone who gets into crypto, they kind of have to have that initial shock, and then they get a little tougher skin. So I think we're just seeing that. It's a metric I saw not too long ago was that I think this was as of like April 25th, I believe. There were 60,000 new wallets a day being created on the just the Bitcoin blockchain.
A day?
So a day per day. So that's new entrants, basically. I mean, one could argue, hey, maybe you take a percentage of that and those are additional wallets for people. But let's say 90% of that. So 50,000 new entrants into cryptocurrency a day. So, we got a lot of new people. They're not familiar with the ground, the territory. And, I think they just, this is a big shakeup for people. So yeah, we're going to see how it plays out.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to see how many newer investors have jumped into space, and I think it's great for Bitcoin. What that begs the question, actually. So like you started crypto in I think 2017. You said, what was your first investment in crypto, and how did that work, right? Because you've been able to time now two markets. So I'm curious, what was your first investment? And what was it like being in that 2017 run up and the 2018 fall?
Yeah, absolutely. My first investment in cryptocurrency was XRP actually. I got lucky. I was living in San Francisco. It was the summer of 2017. The summer of crypto, the ICO summer or whatever, as things started to heat up. And I one of my roommates at the time sent me the XRP white paper, and I just started reading through it, and immediately I was hooked. It just drew me in. Like, wow, this makes so much sense. One of the things that's big for me is doing a gut check of like, does this make sense? Like, is this gonna work in the world? So it just made so much sense to me. I invested, part of my savings that I'd had at the time, and just said, screw it, let's go for it. Always though, keeping in mind a 5-year time horizon. At the time, I think when I invested, it was like 12 cents, and keeping it I remember thinking to myself, man, if XRP in 5 years could be like $1, that'd be unbelievable, right? And at the time, I was just comparing what your return potential is in like the stock market, and
Right.
like, oh my gosh, you can only see things through a certain lens, and even still, that's like a 10x return. Let's call it to be even.
Which is solid, yeah.
Which is still insane over a 5-year period. So yeah, I just remember thinking that.
And it hit $3 that year, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Like that was the top.
That was the top. Yeah, it slammed up to $3. I'd about, I don't know, probably like somewhere around $2. I took some profits and spread out into some other cryptocurrencies, and kind of just it was the ICO craze. Definitely made some mistakes early on and invested in some projects that definitely I literally lost all my money on those projects. They definitely went to zero, but After that, I really started to look into it and really started to hone in on the fundamentals of cryptocurrency investing and in crypto projects. And I've tried to just remain true to really digging into fundamentals of projects.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's been a fun ride. You know, I even my fiance now, she ended up going to work for Coinbase. So like we're a crypto kind of crypto family
You're
over
the
here.
crypto
So.
family. Yeah, that's that's awesome. And actually, Ripple XRP was my first investment as well. However, I caught the back end of 2018. So
Okay.
pretty impressive that you caught that first cycle, but then you were able to catch it again. And you mentioned and previously talking that you basically went all in 2020 with the big fall that happened with the virus, which hope everyone's safe and healthy, but that was a big opportunity financially. And it sounds like from what you've told me, you invested heavily back in 2020 during that big drop that happened in the crypto markets. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. When March 2020 hit, I was in Nashville at a bachelor party having no fun
Yeah,
at
no
all.
fun.
Yeah. But it was crazy time. Obviously the country was shutting down, and I sat with a good friend of mine who's a financial advisor, and he said something to me that really kind of just rang true, and I've had it in my mind ever since, and told many people this. But he said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And that I just really hit home with me. Now, obviously, that's from a financial perspective. I hope
Right.
everyone's happy and healthy and doing okay. And the definitely been pretty traumatic for a lot of people. But from a pure investment financial perspective, he said, never let a good crisis go to waste. If you really think about it in your lifetime, you maybe only get 4 of those, maybe 5, because roughly every 10 years
Yep.
ish, there's you know some type of issue. Now this was 2008 was the global financial crisis, which was terrible. Before that, in the 90s, I forget exactly what was happening, but then you had high interest rates
The
and like
dot com
inflation in the
bubble, like
80s.
there's a whole
Oh yeah,
bunch of things. Yeah.
dot com bubble in the
Yeah.
early 2000s,
The
late 90s.
80s.
And then in the early 90s, there was inflation and just, so there's always opportunity in these kind of like crisis times. And I just, I'd always kept my eye on the ball with crypto and knew that it was the future. And luckily after I invested, I, you know, I kind of got lucky in 2017, saw the write up, definitely, made some mistakes. But in 2018, 2019, I really started doing my homework, really started looking at fundamentals of projects, which, for those viewers that, if you guys aren't doing this, I'd highly recommend, you look at the teams of projects, look at the tokenomics, what's the deflationary aspect of the project? Is there a deflationary aspect, or is just who controls the bulk of tokens, who gets the rewards? So that's a really, really important thing to do. And so luckily I had been doing my research. I'd really kind of remained patient. And 2019 happens, or sorry, 2020 happens, and March 2020 liquidation, crisis, I would say. And one of the things that I saw that happened in March of 2020 was that the fundamentals of these projects had not changed. The fundamentals of Bitcoin had not changed. Nothing had changed. The fundamentals of stocks had not changed. The fundamentals of bonds. What happened was fear, uncertainty, and doubt crept into people's minds. They did not know how long it was going to happen. People act extremely irrational when fear, uncertainty, and doubt comes into their mind. So, luckily I had kind of been preparing myself for an opportunity. And, when it happened, I actually liquidated my entire 401k from my job, took all
Wow.
my savings, and I just went full board because I said, listen, now's the time, said to myself, listen, now's the time, take a risk. You're also 28 years old. And, you have time to make this up. If I was 58, 68 years old, I'd probably be in a lot different position and not taking, as risky of bets, maybe take a portion, but not my, my entire 401k. I
Right.
said, listen, I said to myself, you have time to make it up. You're You're a resourceful young guy and you'll be fine if for some reason this doesn't work out, but I think it worked out pretty well.
So you
So
really went all in, like liquidated your 401k, your savings all went into crypto.
all crypto. Yeah.
And what a payoff, because I mean, every single crypto since March is flying high, including Bitcoin. I mean, all of them. So, well done to you on not just timing one market, but two in basically the past two markets that have been around since you've been investing. So that's
Thanks.
pretty impressive. So great job. And that's why I wanted to connect with you too, is because I hopped in at the downtrend of the 2018 cycle. So I think it's beneficial to connect with people who've ridden multiple cycles and can kind of see, okay, this is what's trending or what's happening historically, and this is what's also that's different. And to see like, does this seem similar, or in what ways is it different? And I think it's good to connect with people who've been through this before. And it sounds like you've been there, and this is just the next one up. So happy to hear your experiences, and we connected a little bit about on your history of the cycles, and you've talked about that 5 year look at investing and having patience. But one thing I want to discuss are meme coins. Why? Because everyone's talking about them, right? And while it's not smart to look at crypto, at least some would differ, I would say crypto, looking at it from a longevity standpoint, investing, like having that 5 year mentality versus how can I make as much money in the next month, is probably the safer way to look at it. But it's undeniable that meme coins, people are investing and having 1,000% success, which I've also had in a few. But I've also gone ahead and done some research around them to make sure that I like the tokenomics in a couple different pieces that I think they're going to have momentum to go. But I consider myself kind of like a moderate to maybe a little bit riskier investor, and I'd say from us talking, you're probably a little bit more conservative. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on meme coins?
Yeah. No. Meme coins. Honestly, not a fan for the long term. It feels a lot like the ICO craze in 2017.
Yep.
Now, with that said, for those of you out there that are maybe looking at these meme coins as a short-term play to ride the momentum they may have, I can't harp on that, but I'm not a technical trader myself. I'm an investor. I look for value investing. I try to take, I'm really trying to train myself even more to be a macro investor, right? I take a macro view on where the world is going, and I place calculated bets on what's happening. So that's my philosophy. And meme coins don't fit into that because they don't have
fundamentalist play.
they don't have fundamentals. I don't think the world is going to a meme coin, but I can't harp. I know a few momentum traders, and for those of you who don't know, momentum trading is just you're basically looking for things that have the most momentum on an upward side or a downward side to either short it or capture the market gains. So what I will say about them is that I can't necessarily harp them for that, but I would be very, very cautious. It's really almost like gambling, and I know you said that you kind of feel the same way, that you like it's almost like gambling, because you could be up 50% one day and then down 100% the next. It's crazy to me. Because there's like, I think there's close to 10,000 cryptocurrencies out there now, and there's so many awesome projects that have such amazing fundamentals. For example, one of the projects that I love is a decentralized finance protocol called Maker. Maker is an amazing protocol. Basically, the way I look at Maker is, Maker is the protocol. It's making money. And if you break it down from a price to earnings perspective and compare that to the S&P 500, Maker Maker's price to earnings is 20 to is a 20.
Mhm.
Whereas the S&P 500, so if you know, for those viewers out there, if you were to take money and put it into a mutual fund, into an S&P 500 mutual fund, that gets spread out over all the S&P 500 companies. Their combined price to earnings ratio is a 44, and that's considered a conservative bet against the market, right? That's probably the conservative bet against the market. Everyone always says, Warren Buffett, especially, and all these big investors, if if you're not going to get super specific, bet on the market, right? Just let the market carry you. And so for a project that is in crypto that should be considered risky is half the risk on a price to earnings perspective as the S&P. Those are the type of projects that I like. And those are the type of projects that make sense to me. Like I said earlier, I'd like to do a gut check on, hey, does this make sense? Can I understand this project, and will this be needed more in the future? Do I see it, the world moving in that direction? So meme coins, unfortunately, are just not in that sphere for me. But again, can't harp them for necessarily if you're trying to swing trade it and momentum trade it.
That's why I wanted to ask, and it's interesting that you bring up Maker because I'm familiar with it, but I haven't done a deep dive into it. So that's definitely one now I want to look into. But I agree that like, are these meme coins going to be like a 5 years out thing? Like 95, maybe 98% of them, no, right? Like they're literally a momentum play. Like that's why when I've gotten into them, like I know I'm gonna hold them for X amount of time, take profits, let them ride down, let them ride back up, take profits. But I know it isn't a long term thing. I'm actually probably gonna be doing a video soon on these on how to safely do them from like a fundamentalist standpoint, which is kind of hard to even apply that to them. But at the same time, there's a method to my madness that's worked. But I had to ask because they do remind me of like the ICO craze that happened back in 2017, 2018, which most of those, like Namecoin and all those crazy ones, are completely gone today. So I did want to ask, and that brings up the question too of like the OG meme coin, which is Doge, which it started off as a joke, but no one's laughing anymore because it started with Elon giving them utility, and now Mark Cuban's giving them utility. Like it's very much now a force to be reckoned with. So I do think meme coins, some will survive. Like some will actually be a crypto in the next bull cycle, but pretty small margin. But since we're talking about Elon, he's been making a lot of waves. Initially good, and then now bad. What are your thoughts on Elon in the crypto space? Because I just want to say, I think Elon is a brilliant man. Like he's an innovator. What he's done with Tesla and SpaceX, absolutely incredible. No one believed him that he was going to be able to do these things for a long time, and he proved everybody wrong, and is now the world's richest man, or was. I'm not sure if he still is. But absolutely brilliant man. But he's new to crypto, obviously from what he's saying, and he's been making some very frustrating, emotional tweets. And so I want to get your perspective on Elon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this about Dogecoin. From a fundamentalist perspective, I personally can't get behind Dogecoin, but that doesn't mean that it's people don't believe in it. Because at the end of the day, if you really break it down, what is money and what is a currency? A currency is just a belief system, right? I believe that this is valuable, and that it can be traded for this, right? So it's a communication system. It's a belief. So if people believe in it, then yeah, who's not to say that it won't continue to increase in value and have some utility? But I think those are few and far in between. And just so all you viewers know, Doge was created as a joke. I'm sure people have hopefully have heard that by this time, but and that's okay. And like you said, some will survive, and I think that's a testament to the entire space and how much people believe and how much they want to believe and change the narrative. Mm-hmm. But to get on to the subject of Elon,
Mr. Musk.
Yeah, Mr. Musk. I too agree that Elon is one of the smartest people on planet Earth. I am a big fan. I think he has done amazing things for the world and will continue to do amazing things for the world. I mean, what he's done in the car industry has been incredible. Now, California and many states are passing that, new car sales are, going to be all electric. And I think by the time, we're old and gray, I don't think there'll be hardly any gas cars on the road, which is going to be pretty amazing. I mean, he pretty much did that single handedly when people said it was impossible. So good for him there. But I think as far as Elon goes for crypto, I think he's new to the space, just like everyone else is, just like those 50,000 people who are being onboarded every day. And, there's still things I think he's figuring out, but he's figuring them out in a very public setting. And, he has a very loud megaphone. And I know he's usually fairly respectful of the megaphone, but also has gotten himself in trouble with the megaphone. And now looks like he's getting his company maybe in trouble a little bit because, they may go negative on their reserve assets if, this thing doesn't bounce fairly quick. They're pretty almost break even at this point. But, I think that, he's generally a good force and a good spearhead for the community. I generally believe he wants to do good and that he does see the good in crypto and he will help to foster that community and foster this technology to continue to do good in the world. But it's just, he's getting hit pretty hard by the cyber hornet community right now, as Mr. Michael Saylor likes to say. It's a Bitcoin and the crypto community is a cyber hornet community built honestly with the smartest people in the world. When you're talking about potentially the value of the world, being stored on blockchains, the smartest people in the world are going to flock to that. When you're literally fundamentally changing the world and how money works, which is the basic communication and, value thing that, runs societies, for the most part, it's or one of the functions, a major function of society. You're going to have extremely smart people in that world. So, long story short, I think Elon is great for the space. I think he's got himself in a little bit of trouble here early on and kind of learned how the community works, and also probably learning how big his megaphone is in the community. And so I hope, that he won't make as irrational decisions. It's the Tesla announcement from the energy seemed a little bit irrational because there are lots of studies out there. It seems like he could have gone to an expert on the energy use that Bitcoin is actually consuming and actually gotten a real world perspective. It kind of seemed like it was off the hip. So that announcement. So I'm going to be interested to see what comes of it in the next couple of weeks here. But overall, I think he's good for the space.
Yeah, I definitely think he's definitely made some emotional tweets, but at the same time, I mean, with how much crypto's blown up, it's bound to attract, all of the big financial players, right? So Elon makes sense. Like we have Mark Cuban now talking about NFTs, and like Mark Cuban, we even have like Mr. Wonderful, like all these and all these even like financial institutions like Wells Fargo and JP Morgan, like all these institutions and players have talked crap about crypto for years, have said, just negative things, like it'll never come to fruition. And now the page has turned and all of them are hopping in. They all now have voices in the space. And so that's why I had to ask the question, what your thoughts were on Elon, because a lot of it's negative from a lot of different people. And I think it's kind of a two-sided coin, right? Like it depends on which side of the bed he wakes up on if he's going to be good for the space or bad. But I had to ask.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think again, going back to that 5-year time horizon, if you're looking at things in a 5-year time horizon, is he going to in 5 years help the space more than he's going to hurt the space? I think the answer is pretty clear. I think it'd be yes. Because his core ethos is to further the evolution of man and make sure that, the humans thrive and survive. Basically that's, if you really break it down, what his core principles are. And Mark Cuban, really famous businessman. I think he's a great megaphone for the space as well. People listen to Elon, they listen to Mark Cuban, and the more people get in the space, I think the better. We're still very early days, very, very early days. In that, there's always that barbell. If you guys haven't seen that before, but there's that barbell of, innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then finally the forced adopters. So I think, we're still in like maybe we just surpassed the innovator, portion of that barbell, but we're in just the very beginning of the early adopters. And you're seeing kind of the cutting edge, people in the business world and finance world move into that. But I think it's going to be really exponentially accelerated with these people, with big megaphones coming in, and then of course all the institutions, and they're still, again, we had an all-time high last month, and now obviously we're getting a big correction here, so they're still licking their chops, and I think they're still lining up getting their ducks in a row, and getting all their money in a row. I think I just heard that JP Morgan just last month trained 1,000 advisors to sell Bitcoin. So
Really?
they're still, they're still, people tend to forget, things move so fast in the space that like just last couple months, all these banks said that they're going to be offering crypto. So, there's still a lot to come. We're just kind of in a correction right now.
I completely agree. Like that's one thing that people forget about is like all of the news, and I've touched on a couple in my videos actually, like the large institutions that are getting in. Like we just saw Wells Fargo talking about getting in, which they've notoriously been anti-crypto for a long time. And JP Morgan actually said that they're going to be flipping their switch probably come summer. So if you think the market's over before the big guys are going to get in, it's very, very unlikely. But I think we've beaten that definitely into people's heads, and at least where we stand. But and I don't know if many people know this, but I actually haven't told many friends or business colleagues or anyone or family even like about my channel. But I did share with Spencer, my channel, and without even asking, he actually told me, he's like, I saw some of your videos and I chose to invest in the Ecomi OMI project. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, man. Like, I consider Spencer a little bit more conservative, and I know he doesn't make newer coin investments very often. And he even compared it or reminded him a little bit of investing in Vechain back in the day. So I would love to hear your take on why OMI. Like, when's the last time you invested in a new project, and what reminds you of Vechain?
Yeah. So kudos to you. I love your channel and love the OMI's community and everyone surrounding the channel. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, so I decided to invest in OMI after watching your videos and digging into the project because, again, just the gut check of does this make sense to me? That's always the first thing I go to. Hey, does this make sense? Do I think that the world's moving in this direction? And it does. And I have a sister who is she's super into anime. She's super into gaming. And so, I've kind of seen that world from the periphery. I'm not a huge gamer myself. I was more of a sports guy growing up, but I loved sports cards, loved Pokemon cards. So I get the collectible kind of space as well, just from a personal, perspective. As I'm sure a lot of, people watching this at my age, they grew up with Pokemon cards and, Beanie Babies and, sports cards and sports cards are always still around, and Pokemon cards are making a huge, Pokemon cards are making a huge comeback. Oh my God. So I get that collector space. And so, and then having the perspective of my sister was great. And, so what I loved about Ecomi, like you've explained, is, you have the company with the app, and the app is only growing exponentially with their users, and they're only getting, more and more partnerships on board. And what I also liked was that they had spent a few years before they even built their app. They had just spent the few years of the first portions of their company getting the licensing agreements, which is so smart because you can't do anything if you don't have the licensing agreements. So with the partnerships that they have, and the app, which if you haven't played around with the app, is your first time hearing about Ecomi, awesome app. Veve is killer. I mean, I've showed it to a few friends, and I've even told them about the OMI token. They're like, "Wow, this is so cool!" Just the Veve app. So they love it. I'm on it. I love the drops that they're doing, and so that was just awesome in itself. And then when you dig into the fundamentals, like I've earlier said, I'm a fundamental guy. It just makes a lot of sense. I love that they're taking the profits from their OMI, from the sales on the Veve app, and burning OMI tokens, destroying OMI tokens. This whole space, especially Bitcoin, is just a very simple supply and demand exercise. What's the first rule in economics we learned? Supply and demand. If supply is going down and demand is remaining the same, or demand is going up, the price of something is going to go up. It's as simple as that. And what makes things valuable is scarcity, right? And demand and scarcity. And the more demand we get for these collectibles, the more profit there is, the more Ecomi tokens are being burned or taken out of circulation. The more the supply is going down, the more if demand's staying the same or people are just holding the tokens, the price is going to go up. So I just thought it was an awesome project. And actually, I hadn't invested in a project. I think the last new project I invested in was probably like late 2018 or 2019.
2 years.
Yeah. I'd done a lot of research on the projects that I haven't invested in. I only invested in like less than 10 projects. And so, there's so many projects out there, but I knew, I'd done so like deep dives because I gotta be honest, I still had a 9 to 5 job. I had things going on, but I knew that, hey, these projects, the way I see the world going on a macro view, these are going to do really well. So I just kept reinvesting in those projects. Obviously, Bitcoin being a big part of that, Ethereum being a big part of that, and Vechain, which we're going to get to in a second here. But so it was great. And the kind of so investing in Ecomi, super excited about it. And the comparison I see to Vechain is that Vechain, I invested in Vechain back in 2017.
That was back when it was Ven, right? VEN.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for those who don't know, that used to be Ven, and you had to actually convert your Ven into Vet. So that you were in it back when it was Ven, which you can't even look up Ven on CoinMarketCap because it's been converted and like it's no longer in existence, right? So
nope.
The price and are you still holding your Vet?
Yeah, I'm still holding Vechain.
So for those who don't know, that means I got into Vechain back in November, and I was up I think like 900% before this crash, and it's gonna keep going up in my perspective. So I don't even know what kind of percentage you're up on it, but I know it's a lot.
Yeah, it's been a great investment to say the least. It's Vechain's an awesome project. They're doing really, the Vechain Foundation is great. They're doing really cool stuff over there. And again, I got into it in 2017 for similar reasons that I got into Ecomi, right? Searching, came across the project, did a gut check. Does it make sense? And then looked at, their team, their partnerships. At the time they, had even back in 2017, they had a partnership with BMW. Walmart was coming to fruition. And, they had, when it was Ven, they didn't have their nodes even yet then. And they're,
wow.
Vechain's like really famous for their nodes and their passive income. And so, overall, just kind of the structure of it, and again, the fundamentals and the tokenomics, it just made a lot of sense. And it made a lot of sense that you'd want to, for the supply chain of the world, you'd want it to be on a blockchain. So it just, of course you would. You want to track your items.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you want that? That makes total sense to me. And they just, even back in 2017, they were the leader in that space. I'm surprised more people aren't in that space, but they're just, they're doing, really, really good stuff over there. So yeah, that's kind of, when you compare it with the partnerships with Ecomi, all the licensing agreements that they have, um, add on the fundamentals and the team. The team at Ecomi has been awesome. They're super communicative with the community. It's been really cool to see, and I'm excited to see them grow, just like Vechain.
Awesome. And just to add to what you spoke about, you mentioned that you're more of a sports guy and your sister's into anime. Those are two verticals that are coming to Vivi. So the NFLPA licensing is already signed. We've already seen some hints at it. So that will probably be coming this quarter. And they've already said anime is a vertical that'll be coming soon too. So hopefully, there's basically a vertical for everybody. So that's only going to keep growing. But I appreciate you kind of sharing, why you chose OMI. If you haven't invested in another project, to go into OMI, that's just good news for all of my OMI subscribers, to just added conviction, right? Like, know that you hold something that serious investors, not just NFT enthusiasts or collectible enthusiasts, are investing in, but people who actually understand tokenomics and a strong team and a strong valued project are investing in this. So, and comparing it to VeChain, like, I wouldn't have thought to do that, but I guess like how you would align like their partnerships with all these licensing partnerships, like, it makes sense.
Absolutely. And yeah, at the end of the day, I said this to my brother the other day. I just said, people like to collect, and it's just at the end of they just like to collect. So I'm really excited to see where that project goes. I think they're definitely the leader in my mind, and can't wait for Pokemon. Can't
Yeah,
wait.
when Pokemon. Yeah. Awesome. And we spoke about obviously NFTs and meme coins and all that, but you know, there's a lot in the space. But which space do you think is going to be the Goliath? Like the head honcho of the space. Is it going to be NFTs? Is it going to be exchange tokens? DeFi? I already got your take on meme tokens, so probably not those. But
Yeah.
what do you think is going to be the standout winner for this cycle?
I think for me, the standout winner of the cycle is going to be DeFi. Um, it's, you know, you also have the tried and true Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some, older tokens, Chainlink and Litecoin and stuff like that, which, they're kind of in more maturity, but DeFi is kind of the new hot thing, also along with NFTs. I would, also, but I think DeFi just has a lot of traction. And again, going back to fundamentals, I love the fundamentals of DeFi. You have these protocols like Maker, like Sushi Swap, like Bancor, that are making hundreds of millions of dollars in profit. And when you, again, like going back to the Maker example, you line up the price to earnings against the Maker token, which is, if you kind of compare that to, like a dividend of like holding equity, like holding Coca-Cola or something. Warren Buffett, he loves Coca-Cola because they give a great dividend. It's just incredible what these protocols are making. And once the big guns kind of wake up to this, I think there's going to be a ton of money that pours into DeFi because they're looking for yield. At the end of the day, take a real estate institutional investor that wants to invest in a commercial property. They're looking for a 5 to 6% annual yield. That's a great annual yield for them with some tax write-offs. Maybe they're at 8 to 10% in their total return. When you take something like Sushi or Maker, I think Maker's return is like a 30% annualized return. That when they figure this out and how much money is actually in these, I mean, they're just going to be pouring into these projects. So
That's
I
some
think
serious money.
that's some serious money, right? And
Yeah.
obviously it's a step at a time, right? Like you have Bitcoin, which is like the gateway crypto people are pouring into now, which is fantastic. That's their gateway into crypto. And then as they start to explore these projects more, maybe Ethereum's the next step. And then after Ethereum, DeFi is probably the logical next step as they're looking for yield.
Awesome. No, I agree. I think like NFTs will do well this space, but by mass majority of them, like it's probably going to be the next cycle where many of them really come to full fruition. I think like OMI and a few others will do well this cycle, but like their big time to shine will be the next cycle. But DeFi, I mean, we saw hints of it doing really well the last cycle, but I think with all of the larger institutions and the financial side all hopping more and more in, and with the big correction we just saw, and people literally in 10 hours, like scooping up that dip faster than I've ever seen in any financial market.
It was incredible.
I think that DeFi is primed for a hot girl summer where it's just going to be absolutely incredible to see some crazy numbers be put up by some of these projects.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more about the NFTs. I think NFTs are still in their early life, and I'm really excited to see where projects like OMI go, and projects like Engine. I love Engine's mission for
Me
the
too.
long term, and yeah, they're still kind of working through, who's gonna be the winners, but I think again, I probably said this 10 times in this episode, but like going back to the fundamentals of the project, who's the team, what are their partnerships, what's the tokenomics. Those are going to be the winners long term, and if you just have patience, I think it's going to play out. So that's why OMI for me stood out so much, that it just made so much sense.
Absolutely. So we're speculating, but I mean, in our opinion, we don't believe this is the top. We've got more to run. So, in your opinion, when is the top? There's like the super like conservatives say it's 80K, and then I think it's somewhere between 125 to 150K, and then there's the maxis who say like 300 plus K, which that's the maximus. Like some people say like 500K. I think Kathy Wood said 500K, but what are your thoughts like on what is the top of the bull cycle and when?
Yeah, I have to check her timeline on when she said she thinks 500K
That's
would
fair.
hit,
Yeah.
but she's a very smart woman. I'm a big fan of Kathy Wood and ARK. They're doing great stuff. But I think for this cycle, we're looking sometime, if history again rhymes, it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And if we look at those charts that I showed you in the beginning, we're probably looking somewhere in the fall sometime as a top. I think a good rule of thumb would be to really start monitoring it like August. To if you have a decent amount invested, really like start watching close and make sure to pay attention to experts like yourself. And there's a couple of others out there that I think do a really good job at analysis, and just be wary of that. But I think personally, I've been pretty consistent with this. I think we're probably looking somewhere. I think we'll see Bitcoin wick up to about some. I think it might go past 200K, maybe somewhere in between two
Wow.
300K. Wick, and what I mean is wick would be a very short stint up there. It wouldn't be sustained up there.
Right.
I think we'll probably be sustained somewhere in the range of like 100 to 150, and I think that would be a very good range to take profits off the table, to feel like you definitely wrote it up, which you absolutely did, but you're not in a bad spot where you could all of a sudden, things could turn around in a day. I think we'll have, maybe a month or two where we'll stay pretty in that range, and then maybe we'll wick up quickly, for a couple days or a week or something, and then come back down. In the 2 to 300K range. And if in Ethereum, and I'm just using Bitcoin and Ethereum because they're the bigger coins. But I think all coins will kind of follow suit. I think Ethereum maybe lags behind that a little bit by a month or so. because that's what it's done in the past. But TBD. We'll see what happens. But I think it'll probably top out somewhere in the range of like 10 to 20. I think again, same thing with that wick, where it'll wick up, for a short period of time in there, and then it'll, but a safe range to maybe take profits somewhere in around like 8 to 10K range, most likely. And you know, yeah, I think for me, like my personal plan is to take big profits. I'm pretty much to the 5 year window. I'm not getting out of crypto. I'm to that 5 year kind of hold window. And what I like to do, it's all an accumulation game for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you want to accumulate as much as you can, right? And so I'd like to take some profits, a chunk of profits off the table, and just wait for the market to cool back down. And probably store I'll probably put it into like a stable coin, store it in like BlockFi, and make interest. BlockFi pays you 8.6% in stable coin, which is an amazing return, by the way. I think people forget that is
Better than
that's
any savings account.
beating the market,
Yeah.
man. The market's a 7% return. People try to beat the market, so um probably just sit and wait, and then choose some targets to where I think we'll probably see like a 60-70% pullback. Probably not an 80 to 90%. Maybe in altcoins. Altcoins might get
Mm-hmm.
ruined, but I'm just thinking purely Bitcoin and Ethereum. But probably see that pullback, hit some, you know, get some targets, and probably try to reallocate in like a year and a half, 2 years, depending on how the cycle's going. So that's, I think, what's going to happen. Now, again, I don't have a crystal ball. It's not financial advice. Do your own research. But I think if we rhyme to where history has gone in the past, I think we're going to be in a good spot.
I think we're in similar mentalities. I actually did an exit strategy video not too long ago where pretty much like that 150 range is like where I saw the top. But it sounds like you think it's gonna go a little bit higher, but same thing, like same strategy, like putting it into these stable coins that are going to accumulate APY that are going to be better than converting it directly into fiat. And again, like I think it's about the long game, right? Like right now we're in a bull cycle, so things are fun and exciting. But this bull cycle, you can make a lot of money, especially if you already have a lot of money to turn that into a lot of money. Like that's how the rich gets richer. But having the foresight to look forward to the bear cycles and put money in at those times when it's not a hot market is where you can really turn a lot of commas and become a seven-figure holder with not a ton of money if you make smart investments in those times. And so that's one thing I've spoke about quite a bit. Is it isn't just about an exit strategy that everyone talks about. Exit strategies, it's also about a re-entry strategy. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like for the most part you're not doing a lot of buying in bull cycles. You're pretty much just buying in bear cycles. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, pretty much. I think the last I did the big play in March of 2020. And even before that in 2018, 2019, I'd been allocating, amounts, kind of dollar cost averaging in, with, bigger chunks as I was a sales guy at the time. So as bigger chunks of like commission came in, I'd allocate some money in. So yeah, no, I definitely, I'm looking forward to the bull cycle. And if you're new to crypto, this is exciting times. But I agree with you, Taps. We should really be excited to make money. You make money in the bear cycles. That's where, like you said, that's where you can really project yourself into a new category, and literally change your life. That's game changing, life changing dollars if you're smart, and if you look for projects that have good fundamentals, and set your price targets, listen to the smart people like yourself, and have a strategy as well. I think like you said, most people have strategies for exit, but they don't have an entry or anything like that. They don't know what they're doing. So definitely have a plan. I'm a planner for sure.
Awesome. So we're getting near the end of the I think we've covered quite a lot of content, but any other tips for newer investors to crypto? Because I know this is a lot of newer investors, like you said, 50,000 people a day or so, new wallets. This is their first rodeo, so
Yeah.
you're experienced, you're very successful in what you've done with crypto. What are some tips or some just last minute last thoughts or insight to provide for the newer people to the trade?
Yeah. I would say, I got a few people that I would recommend for good knowledge. Raul Paul at Global Macro Investor, and he has a company called Real Vision. And I think you can check him out if you just type in Google Real Vision Crypto. He's awesome for a macro picture and to really zoom out on the market, and look where it's headed in the next 5 or so years. Will Clementi, he's on Twitter. He's an awesome on-chain analysis for Bitcoin. Really doing deep dive analysis through Glassnode on all of the basic on-chain metrics that are happening, inflows, outflows on exchanges. Checking out all of the moving averages, lengths of coins, all that stuff. And then Robert Breedlove, he has a podcast called What is Money Podcast. Literally my favorite podcast. He is such a philosophical thinker, and he
Mhm.
really opens your mind on what is money, and like how does it work and why is it important. And I think a lot of people know it's important because we need to live, but how does it fit into the fabric of our society? And obviously weaves Bitcoin in there. He's a pretty big Bitcoin maximalist, but if you kind of take a step back, and he is also very he's enlightening about the entire space. And then Anthony Pompliano, Pomp, I think a lot of
Um,
people know him. Pomp's the man. Um, I would definitely recommend him. He's got some really good stuff that he does, and his newsletter is great on a daily basis. I think it's like $100 a year, totally worth it. He's got some really good insight. I read it every day, just to kind of keep up to what he's seeing, because he's got also, I don't want to say insider information, but he's got an inside track to a lot of projects and things that we may not have perspective to.
mhm.
So I love his perspective. And then what I'll just say is kind of going back to what we talked about in the beginning, have patience. If you think you're getting into the space and you're going to get rich overnight, it's not the case. But again, if you wait for 5 years, if you have a 5 year time horizon, I can virtually guarantee you're going to make money. Even if you bought at the Bitcoin at 64,000 or anything at their top, if you're buying a strong project, right, like Bitcoin or
Mhm.
Ethereum or OMI or these strong projects who have a lot of potential, just have patience. Don't freak out, because this is a volatile space, and if you have that 5 year time horizon, it's going to work out for you, which honestly is a fairly short to medium time horizon in investing anyway. So I hope that no one's coming in, trying to just make a quick buck and sorry, flip a quick buck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Like we've become very spoiled in terms of our expectations of gains compared to like stocks or real estate. Like you're killing it if you're making more than 30% gains in stocks year over year, but you're really not even trying if you're doing that in crypto, right? Where because you're making hundreds, sometimes thousands of percentages. But again, that's why it runs in cycles, because it can't run hot like that all the time. So having that foresight and, like you said, the patience, I think is the biggest takeaways. And of course, that question that we answered in the beginning, which is the bull cycle over? In Spencer's opinion, my opinion, not quite. We still got more legs to this race, and I think we've got a lot more gains to still see. But this video has been value packed. Like, I appreciate all of the conversation. It's been great, and I hope my subscribers find it valuable too, because I'm constantly trying to think of new videos that can help them, with their investment journey, and connecting with you on these topics seem like a good one. So before we go, Spencer, again, thank you so much for your time. Like, I really appreciate you hopping on the channel. But where can people find you? Social media, and can you tell us a little bit about like the businesses that you're invested in that could possibly help some subscribers?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me again. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. I think you're doing awesome stuff. Keep it up. Where you can find me on Twitter, backslash. My handle is Spencer Freed, Freid. And you can find me. My biggest, I'd say, channel though is I'm actually huge, bigger on LinkedIn. I actually love LinkedIn and trying to constantly bring value there. I think it's a very underutilized platform. Um, you can also subscribe to a newsletter that I just started called Crypto Curious. I'll give you a link. You can, if you want, you can put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I did a Substack letter once a month. The space moves so fast that I think we tend to forget what happens just in 30 days. Like I said, less than 30 days ago we had an all-time high. It's 60 plus thousand in Bitcoin. So I just try to aggregate everything and then send it out in one clean, you know, message that takes someone 5 to 10 minutes to read of like, wow, this, so I'll publish one in the beginning of June of what happened in the month of May, and hope people are getting value out of that. The companies I'm invested in, I'm invested in a college consulting company called FMC College Funding Solutions. You can just go to fmccollegefundingsolutions.com. We're trying to help parents and students pay less for college and not take on as much student debt, because that's a big passion project of mine. I was able to graduate college debt free, which really allowed me to take the risks that put me in the position I am today. So I'm super passionate about that. And then I've also angel invested into a travel app that's a recommendation travel app for your friends. It's kind of like your travel notebook, which is really cool. It's kind of like TripAdvisor meets Instagram, I would say,
Cool.
which is pretty sweet. And you can find that it's Path Travel if you just search it on your phone in the App Store. And then my 9 to 5 gig is I'm a commercial insurance broker, a partner at my own firm, and yeah, so I got a lot going on, and but I love it, and it's really fun, and it's what a time to be alive, man. 2021, it's a great time.
Yeah, you're a busy guy, but yeah, if any subscribers need help on the student loan front or want to check out the travel, we'll put all that in the details so you can, and also check out his social media and see, he posts some really good stuff about what's happening in crypto space. And I actually do want to sign up for your newsletter because I think it's great to stay in the know, especially from how much of the space that you're looking at and how long you've been in. So looking forward to that. But again, really appreciate you coming on the channel, man. Can't thank you enough. And I hope this was helpful for all my subscribers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And again, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for future content. That's all I've got for today, but I'm Taps. That's Spencer. Thank you for your time, man. Happy trading.